there were kind of some spoilers in the first part. Who knows? Kind of. But it was like it's 100 pages, y'all. What am I supposed to talk about? What is good, BookTube? It is Montgomery, and we are here today because Mr. Green's new book, I say new, it's like his only book, Breach of Peace, is out in the world. This might turn out to be a reading vlog, just because, who knows, but that wasn't actually my intent. But then I started the video like this, so I think we're gonna make it a reading vlog, which feels weird because, again, 99 pages. But I'm gonna read it. We're gonna see how it is. I have seen some of the things that have been said. I have seen his little video talking about how he is not pro police murdering people, or like pro God police. I do think that there seems to be a disconnect for Mr. Green in how he views his police force as this, you know, thing, and the actual role of police in our current society. It seems, from my understanding, that he thinks that there is a gap there that I don't know, I would say, but again, I haven't read it. We're gonna read it today. This is how I'm gonna spend my morning. I'm gonna make some breakfast and read his little novella. And I'll check in with you guys. I used to do like 25, 50, 75%. I thought that was doing a nice little moment. But because this is only 99 pages, I will probably check in when I get to 50%. And then I'll do like a final thoughts at, you know, 100%. And that'll be what we do here. Oh. Okay, so I read 52-ish%. Apparently I paused the YouTube video I was using as a timer. So I read for a little bit over 30 minutes. We're about 52% of the way into the story. And I'm going to talk about the sort of larger world things. And then we're going to talk about what the actual plot of this seems to be. And whether or not the Kindle on Amazon is listed as 98 pages. Apparently the physical copy is 150-ish pages, a little bit less than that. And whether I think that this, I don't really know what the length of a novella is supposed to be. But whatever this is, no. So let's talk about the general world things. This very clearly sets up some kind of imperialistic situation wherein whatever kingdom we're currently in, that is ruled by the Almighty, it sounds very Christian, not gonna lie. It sounds very praise be unto Jesus. Very white colonizer. Very white colonizer, the novella. But They have their little things going on. Apparently there's been a rebellion. There's like some rebel forces. Our little atheist friends are trying to rise up. I don't think they're actually atheists. Let's just be very clear. But they're trying to like overthrow, like spark a rebellion. Some very like Star Wars New Hope situation. You know, The Force Awakens, you know, very that energy. Whether they're going to be able to do that, I don't think so, because we follow the police in this world, so something gonna have to change. I will say that this book it's very bland. I would not say there's a very distinct style to this debut, which, you know, it's a debut. It's a debut, so like maybe you're still finding yourself. But as someone who reads frequently-ish, I've read some debuts in my time, and I've read debuts from people that just feel like better books. Like, I think that the whole point of this little novella prequel that he's trying to self-publish was to like garner some buzz for his, you know, actual novel that's set in this world. But and so that's why I'm mentioning like these little world building things. I think they're supposed to like, oh, well, in the full length novel, we're going to get more of this. But like, I don't care about this rebellion. And when I barely care about this little murder mystery. So like, let's get into the like what the book actually is. Like our little murder mystery. It opens with our main characters, Samuel and what is his name? Clyd. Clyd and Samuel are at this little royal family house. They have been brutally murdered. Bodies have been mutilated. Blood is everywhere. But even this, I think, is actually, it's like, it's an odd, I don't follow Daniel Green, but just based on the descriptions that I read, I feel that this man is very clearly not comfortable writing scenes like this. It did not feel, and I don't really know where the line between like gratuitous and enough description of the mutilation is, but a lot of the description of this crime scene is this body was horribly done and the body is off screen, off page, you never see that body. The book starts off with like a boy hanging, like, I don't know, like I'm assuming like off a railing or something. He's like been horribly like gashed open. He dripping blood, all that stuff, hanging by a chain. And immediately he's cut down, even though that's against the protocol or already breaking the law. A lot of things happen in this first little part of the book where characters break the law, and then later on it's like, oh, there's this other elite unit and they can break the law, but for them it's legal, which would mean that it's not against the law. Like, it's weird. Like, so much of this is just weird. I also want to say that the actual setup doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because I did say that I did watch Daniel Green's authorial intent video. And I just want to say that this doesn't make any sense. So the world we are finding out is the Almighty is like a new thing. The all-powerful, whatever the leader people were called. They're like a very new thing, because there are characters in this world who existed in this world in a time before these god-like cops, as Daniel put in that video, became ubiquitous throughout the kingdom. There was a time where I guess it was more of like a military rule, or maybe they were just, you know, different groups of people living on this land mass, and, you know, they were just kind of coexisting or whatever, and then like the Almighty, I don't know. It's a novella. We're really focusing on this murder mystery. All of this backstory stuff is a little bit of speculation on my part, but there was a time, concretely for sure, before the police came in, and we are told the people did not really fuck with this idea of citizen policery because it was weird to them. It didn't make any sense. It was not part of their culture, their system of government, before this almighty colonizer took over, won the war, whatever happened with them. But in the very short amount of time, like a single person's lifespan, because the chief of police, or whatever his title is, was one of those people that existed before this time. And so even, and these seem like regular lifespan humans, I will be very generous. I will give them a modern, you know, lifespan. So like we're talking into the 80s. So like there are people who are like 100 years old who would remember this. People who are like, you know, even like 97 might remember this time before citizen policery. And again, 97 years is is not very long at all. Not very long. No, it's not. Sorry, it's just not. And so for this idea that like all of a sudden the culture would shift and change and the police would become this, you know, highly respected force, while in the same breath we're being described, you know, them constantly not really following the law. There's this whole unit that can just shoot people. Like, these are not elements that make it make sense for the greater world to be on your side. And so for the rebels, this rebellion force, would be small and insignificant. Those things, to me, seem in direct opposition to one another. And even if I were to believe that those things could coexist and they could coexist peacefully and in a way that made sense, I do think that there's still this disconnect between how Daniel Green is actually writing the police and how the police are actually perceived in Western society. Maybe even in non-Western society. I don't really know what policing is like in non-Western society, but from what I've seen, police everywhere be acting the exact same. So just in society, maybe, but I will be specific and say in Western society, that these are functionally, you have written the same. You have, in an attempt to like hyperbolize and you'd be like, oh, this kind of thing could never happen. Like, this book is literally being, like, this part I cannot hold against Daniel Green. Like, this, there was a time where he was watching people's reviews of the book, which I think is a little strange. I hope, if he's here, hello, hi, welcome. But this part, I do want to make it very clear that he could not have predicted that Derek Chauvin's trial would start at the same time. But there's literally a police officer on trial for murder right now. Well, we have this book coming out about this ragtag group of people. I do also want to say that I think it's highly suspicious that the character Chapman, I believe is the character on the cover of the book who looks, I called him black in like some Twitter DMs to like some friends, but I think he's actually supposed to be a Pacific Islander based on his general skin tone and the intricate patterns of the tattoos, specifically the tattoos that are depicted on the front of this book. So I do believe he's supposed to be a Pacific Islander person. I don't know what nation or, you know, situationship in the Pacific Islands. That's just me making an assumption. I do think that it's very odd and very strange that that character specifically has been called out for routinely going over and above and low-key being the worst in this like three-ring circus of main characters we got between Samuel Khalid and him. I do think it's a little odd. Not that the other characters are, well, I don't really know what the ethnicities of any of these people are because, again, it's this fantasy world and people like to act like fantasy world racism doesn't exist. But like, if we're going to act like these godlike police officers aren't weird, I do want to make a very, very strong point that I think it's very strange that this character is somehow like the worst of the worst and like is routinely doing like questionable behavior, even to his fellow police officers who are doing routine breaking of the law, routinely breaking protocol, routinely maybe destroying evidence. And they're just like, you know, he gets answers, so I'm gonna let him do his thing, but I am kind of side-eyeing him. I do want to make that very clear. I think it's very strange. The word choices sometimes feel clunky, particularly in the dialogue. The rest of the prose is very serviceable, nothing to write home about. The overall plot, again, I don't know if I would have wanted to do this in 90 pages. I don't think you can do this in 90 pages. So I would not be surprised if the next novella that is supposed to come out, you know, in preparation for this whole series would be a continuation of whatever's happening here. The magic elements are very minimal. In fact, so far, the only magical element that has been brought up has been questioned. So we'll see how that goes. This is very, like, I don't know. I think this isn't even like a Daniel Green problem. I think it's in some other fantasy, like mainstream fantasy as well, that has sometimes hyped up. But I do wish we could get away from fantasy where the actual magic is like gone. We have to like fight to get magic back. Like those plot lines, those like, oh, surprise magic in this world, like those very minimal magic to me is very boring when it comes to what's supposed to be a fantasy. I will say that. So currently, I would give this 2 stars because to me, it's still a fine rating. It was an okay book. And there have been multiple times I've given a book 2 stars and continued on with the series and enjoyed the rest of the series more. Sometimes I've enjoyed it a little bit less, but usually I enjoy it more. I would not rate it any higher because I do think that it is too bland to it couldn't get a 4 or 5. It's too bland for that. Maybe if something happens like this next 40% that I have to read, it could get to a 3-star read, but that's looking pretty unlikely. But here we are discussing the conclusion of this little novella, and I am not raising the rating. The rating, I don't think I'm gonna lower it. Haven't decided. We're gonna work through this here together, but
let's discuss. So I know I left off in the last clip talking about how Chapman, at this point we're in the conclusion. We're getting to spoilers. There were kind of some spoilers in the first part. Who knows? Kind of. But it was like it's 100 pages, y'all. What am I supposed to talk about? Okay, so blanket little spoiler warning. I will probably cut that part and like chunk it up before the intro, so people will be well warned. So we stopped talking where Chapman was revealed to be like the big baddie of the big bads, and then 3 seconds later it was another plot twist, and he was actually in the rebellion. He was leading the rebellion. He was assaulting his fellow police officers, trying to lure them out to the rebellion place. And they all kind of went. It was weird. Like, they were like, we don't trust him. He's in the rebellion. And if he's not in the rebellion, it could be a trap. And they still go. Y'all saw through it. Y'all saw. But they went. They were like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. And they went and they did it. They did. Wouldn't be me. For elite police officers, these people seem to be stupid. Also, if I read the phrase, murder without a trial, I don't know what in this world the trials actually exist for. Again, I think it's a novella. Sean Maguire, though, has, I don't want to say made a career, because Sean Maguire does, release full novels. I don't read them, but they do have a successful little novella collection that people on BookTube fucking love, that they bend over backwards to pick up. So I know that you can tell, like, allegedly good stories in the novella format. This one is not it. The form factor isn't it. None of these twists felt earned. And then when Sis was on the run again, it's a little novella. So, like, I wasn't really invested in Clyd getting away. I did not care that Samuel died. It was, again, like, the writing here is very lackluster. There was a moment in the end where you could see Daniel Green, like, a little bit of growth had happened. Like, he was trying to be more comfortable with the gory aspects of the story that he was trying to write. But even there, it wasn't coming through, Like, when you're reading the gore and you're just kind of like, ooh, this person's getting ripped apart. Didn't happen. I was like, oh, sucks to be that. It just did not slap, did not connect with me, did not resonate with me. Again, I think that a lot was made about these little godlike police officers. I've talked about them at length. But again, everything in this book happens without a trial. So whether you're in this elite unit, the Fist, whether you're a beat cop, whether you're... every form of violence that happened in this happened without a trial. Like, I could not find a thing that could happen in this world that would result in a trial. So for all of this, like, oh, they're so big, bad, it just seems like the actual course of action, like the actual justice in this world, is the police just murder you. So again, I don't care how many of the videos that you make about authorial, like the real intent that I got was police just kill people. Like, that's what I got. And this isn't, if that's what you want your little police to do, that's great. That's fine. Like, that's what your police want to do. But I do think that I personally would not try and, like, create this distinction between fantasy police and real police, when real police just be killing people. Overall, like I said in the first clip, or technically the second clip, 2 stars. It was perfectly okay. It was, the dialogue continued to be clunky. The world building, to me, continued to be clunky. It kind of felt like Daniel Green... So when you're having a conversation with, like, a friend, and the friend is telling you the plot of the book they're reading, and they're kind of doing a serviceable job, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I might want to read that. But then you read it, and you find that, like, maybe their pitch was just a little bit better than the actual book they recommended. That's kind of what I got from this. I kind of got that his, like, pitch, people telling me he wrote a book, was, a little bit better than the actual book that he wrote and asked people to purchase. I will say it is only $4 for the Kindle. which I think is reasonable. I don't really buy ebooks like that. If it wasn't for this specific video, I don't know if I would have spent that $4, but it's not an unreasonable amount. I don't think he's like overcharging for, well, it is a novella. I don't know how those financials work. Love that for him. He got my $4. Hopefully he enjoyed it. I will be returning. I don't want to continue to own this on my Kindle. I don't want to have to like swipe past it all the time. So overall, who would I recommend this to? If you're already a Daniel Green subscriber and you love the man and I actually don't know what his reading tastes are like. I have been told that his favorite series is The Wheel of Time. And y'all know how I feel about The Wheel of Time. So, but I will say this doesn't read anything like The Wheel of Time. It was a little bit more entertaining than The Wheel of Time. So, like, he has improved on Robert Jordan. Watch that blasphemy come to bite me in the comments. But, like, again, like, it was just okay. If it wasn't on your radar before I made this video, or before videos like this, you know, flooded your subscription feed, then I don't think you need to rush out and read this. And if it was already on, you're like, oh, I'm gonna want to check that out. You might have an okay time, maybe, hopefully. But I don't think that it will, if this was on somebody's like best books of the year list, or like I'm trying to get into adult fantasy, like I think you could find a better story to get into adult fantasy. Even though this is a novella, like there just has to be something better. Even if you wanted something with like more modern elements, like a police force and guns. I don't know. I will also say that the book ends on like this really weird moment where the character motivations to me don't really make sense because the society itself doesn't make sense. And so for that to be the final chapter, I was actually kind of annoyed. I would have almost preferred it to end on the chapter before that, where Clid is getting taken by the Anointed. I thought that was much more powerful, because at least we had been with Clid the entire story. Like, most of the story is like we are with Clid. So for the book to end on a character that we just met, essentially, and their motivations not really making sense other than like brainwashing by the society that also doesn't make sense, wasn't for me personally. But you know, it is what it is. If you made it into the video, if you're here, hi, welcome. Make sure to drop this emoji down there in the comment section. But I'm gonna go, so I'll see you guys again soon with another video. But until then, and until next time, bye.